And on the phone with us this morning, we got Congressman Tim Griffin. Good morning, Tim.
Good morning.
How you doing, man?
Doing great, man.
Good deal. We were just playing the audio earlier this hour from the exchange you had with the guy from New Jersey yesterday. The pretty heated exchange you guys had there over this Obamacare website stuff, and more specifically,
yeah,
you held your composure very well.
You did good.
He has a reputation as a blowhard. You know, in Congress, you have show horses and work horses. He's not even a horse, I think, but you know what I mean. He's just a blowhard.
Well, and we were talking that they bring up the same things.
Rude. Put it that way.
Yeah,
he's rude. People know he's rude.
He threw the kid card at you, and we had Senator Pryor last week, and he did this, or 2 weeks ago, and he did the same thing. Well, what do you want us to do with the kids? You want us to just get rid of their insurance, which they don't have, by the way. We haven't fully implemented Obamacare yet.
Here's the point I was making. It's what's in the study of logic called a false choice. That's where you set up a choice between one thing that's attractive and one thing that's unattractive, and you make people choose between the two, when in fact there is an infinite number of choices, 10, 20, 30, 40, whatever. And so what the Democrats want you to believe is that here are the choices. Obamacare as we've got it, or the way things were before with nothing fixed. That's the choice. Well, so people who want to be covered for pre-existing conditions, and I totally agree with covering people with pre-existing conditions, putting them in high-risk pools, whatever. Okay, those people say, well, if that's the choice, Obamacare, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the way they want the debate. But that's not the debate. That's a false choice. What do I mean by false choice? Well, there are not only two choices. That's like walking into McDonald's and going, here are your choices.
Mm-hmm.
Big Mac, quarter pounder with cheese. And the person goes, well, I like chicken. Well, no, here are your choices. Well, there's a menu. Yeah, but here are your choices. So what they want you to do is say Obamacare or fix nothing. Mm-hmm. And my point was, you don't have to take over. The federal government doesn't have to take over 1/6 of the U.S. economy through Obamacare and do all the goofy stuff that Obamacare does to fix some of these basic problems. Because Republican proposals also deal with pre-existing conditions. I'm holding in my hand the outline of a bill that I just signed on to. It's called the American Healthcare Reform Act. Because we believe in healthcare reform, just not this one. It's like if somebody said, look, I'm going to race in NASCAR, and I'm going to race this 1975 Pinto. And I go, what? And they go, okay, so you don't want me to race? And I go, no, I want you. Well, 75 Pinto. I'm looking at them going, look, if there's nothing you can do to a 1975 Pinto, nothing, to make it win a NASCAR race. Nothing. And they want the argument to be, Tim doesn't want me to race. No, I want you to have the appropriate way to win a race, which is a real car. And that's the way it is with healthcare. It's not Obamacare or nothing. There's many options in between. This bill that I'm holding the outline of, first it would repeal the president's healthcare law, but then it allows for competition across state lines by insurance companies. So instead of having 4 plans or whatever to choose from, let's say in Arkansas, where Blue Cross Blue Shield has 70 to 80% of all the business, you would have hundreds of plans, because you could say, well, I really like that Oregon plan by Cigna.
Mm-hmm.
Or I really like that Blue Cross plan in North Carolina. So you would have complete shopping ability, which would help spur more competition and lower cost. We would have tort reform. We would increase health savings accounts. We would deal with the pre-existing conditions. And there's a lot of other things. But the point is, the idea that you've got to take this nightmare or you'll get none of these things fixed is just ridiculous.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we were talking about yesterday with the Arkansas option, that, there's only 4, and you guys sent a letter to Kathleen Sebelius about this. There's only 4 companies in Arkansas providing insurance under this.
Sure.
And there were supposed to be 8 or 10 or 15 or however many. I mean, how is that better, Well,
I've often said that we need more competition among companies. I had someone one time say, well, competition doesn't work in healthcare. And I'm like, because they said, well, the market doesn't work. I'm like, we don't have a market.
Mm-hmm.
We have a government-created Medicare, Medicaid monopoly, where in some states, one insurance provider covers anywhere from 70 to 90% of the people insured there. That's not a market. That is a federal government-created system that I agree hasn't worked. But to say that there's not more choice because the market just failed us, is just not true. Competition among insurance companies, incentives, innovation, all of that stuff is key to a patient-centered healthcare reform. We're moving. When the whole world is realizing that bottom up is the way to innovate, right? Social media, where people have a voice and ideas coming from people up, as opposed to a top-down, Cold War era, factory-type model. As we're realizing that more and more, the federal government's moving more and more toward that factory-type model. Obamacare's top-down. Washington is going to tell the 50 states how to do it.
Congressman, Congressman Griffin, I was just thinking that with all the things that have happened in the last couple of days, you think about the report from NBC, CBS, they're finally getting on the ball here, a little late in the ball game, and all the things that are taking place with the website problems. I mean, I think we are getting to the point where this thing's going to have to be delayed, and I think more people are starting to see where this thing probably needs to be just totally, thrown out the window. Are you kind of feeling that momentum, perhaps?
Well, I've been that way. I've been there a long time. I think if you were just an observer, you landed on this planet and saw what was going on, and you didn't know anything about the politics, you'd look around and go, man, they need to delay this thing. They need to get rid of this thing. They need to do... But I think there's a lot of ego and pride involved, and they don't want to admit that these problems are systemic. See, some people say, well, these problems are just a website. No. Look, ultimately, they'll get the website fixed. I have no doubt that at some point they will make the website work. The website is not the issue. It is one of the symptoms of a top-down, control-freak law, which is what it is. I say control-freak because the federal government controls everything. Let me clarify. And we haven't been good about articulating this. A lot of conservatives were very big fans, strong proponents of exchanges pre-Obamacare. And you hear a lot of you hear a lot of people say, "Well, y'all are for them." Here's the difference: Republicans and conservatives were for state exchanges that the state completely ran on their own. So, because different states have different populations, and I don't mean with the federal government telling them how to do it, states doing their own thing.
That's not Romneycare. You're not talking about Romneycare, are you? Like what Massachusetts did?
No. But I'll say something about Romneycare in a minute. No. Heritage, Gingrich, lots of people knew private exchanges set up in the states, by the states, at the state's discretion, is what a lot of conservatives were for years. And a lot of folks will say, well, why not these? the problem here is it's a top-down federal takeover type deal where it's completely all the decisions are made in Washington on this stuff. Now, what I would say about Romneycare, as it's called, is I may not like all the details of Romneycare, but as a 10th Amendment guy, if he thinks that's the best thing he could get through a Democrat legislature in Massachusetts, which is not what we have, obviously, in Arkansas, that's up to each state. If Wyoming wants to try something in Wyoming, let them try something in Wyoming. The problem with Obamacare is it forces all 50 states to do what the federal government believes is right, and the federal government can't tie its shoes half the time on some of this stuff.
Right.
And so when you let the states have make their own decisions on this, the decisions are closer to the people, and we have pilots. What do I mean? Every state's a laboratory. So if something is being tried in Idaho that's really working, then other states can go, hey, you know what they're doing in Idaho is really working. We ought to try that here. Or if it's failing miserably, then states can go, we ought to learn some lessons from that. Mm-hmm. That's the beauty of our federalism, our federalist system, where states can do things differently than from each other. But Obamacare is a one-size-fits-all, federal government knows best, top-down deal.
Right. And
that's why ultimately it is doomed to fail.
Tim, we're out of time. I appreciate you joining us this morning, and best of luck in the hearings today as Commandant Sebelius gets ready to give her testimony.
Yeah, I'm watching. We had the administrator for the CMS in at Ways and Means yesterday, and Energy and Commerce has got Sebelius, so I'm going to go take a look at some of that.
All right, appreciate you joining us this morning.
Behave yourselves.
We'll try. You too.
You guys.